Hello, friends. We have here with us a very special individual. He's my dad. We're just so thankful that the Lord somehow, through the comments that you all have been making on this channel, we realized the need to address some questions that you have about faith and science and and he's going to introduce himself. Tell us a little bit about himself, and then we will just dive straight into the questions. And we really pray that this will bring you some clarity if you've had questions about science and the reality of God and all of those good stuff. So here's my dad.
Hello, my name is Mark McClendon. I grew up as a farm child. I grew up on a farm where I had lots of animals, and I got to see some of the nature that God had created.
Mm.
And through all that, I was really interested in the way things flew. So I ended up getting a degree in a background in science and physics. And I, as I was going through college, there were a lot of things that were so convincing of my professors. And one of my professors, I mean, from my other, non-scientific courses and stuff, but I was fortunate that I had a astrophysics professor who I knew was a Christian, and boy, was he smart. He belonged to one of the high IQ. I think there's like 10,000 in the United States, and so I would set up after class a lot of times and talk with this doctor, and we talked a lot about God and the attributes of God, and we can see Him in everything, and so yeah, it was pretty convincing. I can see where a lot of the youth generation is going to need evidence. They're going to need proof of the existence of intelligent design, or what I would call God the Creator.
Thank you for that introduction, Mark. So obviously he was a farm boy and he has all this knowledge in science. And I'm so thankful for him because he's really going to bring us some clarity. So one of the first questions that I really want to ask him, based on one of the comments in one of our videos, if you haven't watched that video, it's why Christianity is on the decline. Go watch it. And we had that comment under that video. So we just want to talk about the existence of God. And this is the question. If God exists, why is there no concrete evidence of his existence? Why does God remain hidden? Why can't we see God? Why is there no scientific concrete evidence of his existence in the world?
Well, there is evidence of God, and here's how. I would like to really start with Romans 1:18.
Okay, I can read that for you.
That scripture hit me really, really hard when I was on the borderline of maybe going agnostic or atheist myself.
Really?
And yet I grew up in a Christian home, and when I read that, it stood out so amazingly in front of me. It hit me like a rock. So I'd like to start and read that. Then I want to kind of talk about what Paul was saying there.
Okay. So I'm going to read Romans 1:18, and this is NIV. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of people who surpass the truth by their
Stop
wickedness.
a minute. This is what I got in college. This is the kind of feedback you're going to get, that chance created everything. We don't have enough time, but go ahead and read the rest.
Okay. Says what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that people are without excuse.
Okay, that's it. So it's not partly clean, not fuzzily seen. It's clearly seen by the things that are made. So when we look into a child and we say it there and we say that 4 billions of chance, basically what they say is that a lightning bolt struck the muddy puddle of water 4 billions of years ago and somehow energized the molecular molecules and came up with a genetic code of a DNA molecule. So by chance. So given the probability and statistics, we can do testing in the lab in a VASC or a test tube, and with basically the elements that are made up of a human body, which are basically found in the planter box outside your yard where your flowers are in. So by chance, by shocking it, we can simulate millions and millions of years in just a matter of an hour.
Wow.
So, and we can't even come up with the building blocks. What the nucleotides, which is the twisted ladder, there's two strands. They're called nucleotides. That is a twisted ladder. They are the building blocks of a DNA molecule. With all of our know-how, the biochemists, all of them, physicists, we can't even come close to building the building blocks of a DNA molecule. And I can go a little bit deeper on what a DNA molecule really is.
Please do.
Okay, so a DNA molecule is like a computer program. It's like a computer. Any computer expert will tell you that you got to have a code, certain codes. You got to have a set of rules and regulations to have programmed information. Okay, so when you get to studying a DNA molecule, it's an information storage and retrieval system that's redundant, and then it's error correcting. What happens is the DNA molecule makes a copy of itself. Two dollar molecules come along, it fills the incorrect one and puts the correct one in. It's error correcting.
Oh, wow.
And if it senses a bad gene, it can turn the bad gene off and turn the good one on.
Oh, wow.
And it's like,
and that is during the formation of a baby in the womb.
That's right. All molecular cells. Yet the agnostic says, or the atheist says, that if by chance, billions of years ago, these electrical lightning shocks somehow cause these molecular collisions, and it somewhat come out with a genetic code. Well, a genetic code is mathematically expressed. It determines the attribute or the structure of what it's building. So it's like,
so it's not possible that it just erupted and formed itself. It's too complex to have just evolved on its own.
Correctly. You ask any computer scientist, go to one, ask them, how do information storage and retrieval systems that are overlapping, that are error correcting and are redundant, how do they happen? And they will tell you out of their own reasoning, the only way that can happen is through a mind. And where do all these, what goes through a mind is concepts. You got to have a concept, and the way you're going to have a concept to build something. An example would be like if I took a piece of wood and I was going to whittle it into a shape. Well, I'm giving you part of myself in a program inside of that whittled whatever object you're whittling. So God had to do the same thing when he created mankind. And by the way, the chances of that lightning bolt striking a muddy puddle of water and it somehow goes from the primordial goo to the zoo to you is the probability is one chance in 10 to the 173rd power. That's your probability. Well, guess what? How old did they say the universe is? 18 to 19 billions of years ago? You don't have enough time. We don't have enough time to do that by chance, by random chance. So Paul, when he was saying that when you look at the nature of living systems or even the cosmos, what you see is what I like to call the minimum resume of God.
The minimum resume of God. So that means that this is the least of God's works that we're seeing. It's not all of God's work. This is like the minutest. So all of the world, all of space, all of the planets, it's a tip of the iceberg, if we could even call it that. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So what I was going to say is that, let me tell you a story about a mountain.
Okay.
It's called Mount Rushmore.
Rushmore is here in the United States.
It's here in the United States. Mount Rushmore is. We can look at those faces on the rock, and we can say to ourselves that there is a creator of those faces.
And we're going to put Mount Rushmore on the screen so that everyone can see it. For those who may be watching from other countries who may not know what Mount Rushmore is, it's the faces of former presidents of the United States that was carved in a rock.
Exactly.
And it's just such an artistic it was done so artistically, done so well.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what Mark is talking about. Mount Rushmore is that artistic creation that was carved, the faces of, was it four United States,
You
former
know,
United States
yes,
presidents, carved from a mountain. It's amazing. So it's on the screen right now for those who may be watching from other countries who may not know Mount Rushmore.
exactly.
Okay, so
So
please
we know
continue.
it was a creator
Mm-hmm.
that programmed that in the rock.
Mm-hmm.
He gave the creator. We can't see the creator. He's not
Mhm.
hiding behind the rock.
Mhm.
Or would it be, let's say, more plausible to say that billions of years of rain, sleet, snow, burrowing squirrels
Mm.
came in by chance and made those
And
faces
Captain
up
Mount.
there?
That
Well,
is so good.
so the same
That is
thing,
so good.
the same thing with God. We can't see. So what we're saying in Romans 18, we know that God exists by the things that are made.
Mm.
So when we look at a DNA molecule that's so complicated
Mm.
that we can't even build the building blocks of it,
Mm.
and we see that it's an information storage and retrieval system,
Mm.
we can say, and it's expressible in the digital code that determines the attribute of the structure and its function of a DNA molecule.
Mm.
We can say the same thing of Mount Rushmore
Mm.
in kind of a likewise manner.
Mhm.
So
So it's really more like even any woodwork in your country, or like any artistic work that you see, you could say that there's a probability that that artistic work was just randomly created. It came into being by itself, by forces of nature, by rain and sunshine and all of that. Or you know, and I know, and we know that there was an artist behind that artistic work that was done. Explain further about how, the evidence of God being part of creation, and that's what enabled him to create us and to create the world.
exactly. So I have a few examples about that because God's power, omnipotence, and everything. Uh, Albert Einstein, to me, was one of the smartest men that ever lived.
Yes.
Okay. Einstein knew, and as smart as he knew that there's no way the universe, the nature of living systems, and things like that, he knew that there was no way this could happen by accident. Okay. Accident and chance is the antipole of information. That's another thing I wanted to say. Chance cannot produce information. If it could, then why don't we program Microsoft 2050? We don't, because it doesn't follow any logic. Okay. Well, God just so happens to be that he doesn't follow things that are illogical too, like build a one-ended stick. When you're thinking of a stick, you're thinking of two ends, right?
Yeah.
But God doesn't go out of the realm of logic. So on the part of God, of Einstein, he believed in what they call an impersonal God. Okay. An impersonal God, what they call actually a Spinoza God. So somehow Einstein believed that he got the earth, he created all the order in the universe and then living systems on planet Earth, and he then somehow left it to be. But let me ask you a question. Let's take a android, a robot, okay? If anybody ever watched Star Trek, the movie Star Trek, okay? Data on Star Trek was a human looking character. He was a robot, an android. He did not feel love. He did not feel emotion. He did not feel sadness. He did not feel hate. So therefore, Data would be he would be unqualified to be a creator of a human being. Okay, so God, when he built us, he, like I was talking about willing that stick, he gave a part of himself. Like if I built Mount Rushmore, I give a part of myself that I programmed with information in rock so you could understand it. Okay, follow that logic. So God had to possess the human attributes of love, hate, joy, sadness. He had to possess those same attributes. So how can you build an emotional being and be like Data on Star Trek? You can't do that. I can't give away something unless I can conceive it, understand it, or possess it. So God put part of himself. He did say he made us in his own image.
It reminds me of that scripture. I was going to say that in Genesis.
Yes.
Should we read it? Yeah. That he created us in his own image. That's exactly what you've just said. That just like him, he
Mm-hmm.
made us like himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That is just perfect, Mark. That is perfect.
Yeah. So God, we get on this part of evil and good. Okay. In order.
Yes, and that's actually, yes, that
Okay.
was the next question. So the next question, that was so good. Thank you for that explanation. And if you still have questions, please leave them in the comments. Please share this with any of your friends who is an unbeliever, who doesn't believe in the existence of God. We really, really, we're praying for so many hearts to be saved because God is so real. And we want you all to experience how amazing and how real it is to have a thriving relationship with Him. And so that's why we are doing this. So please share this video with everyone you know who does not believe, and leave comments, leave your questions. Mark is more than happy to answer all your questions.